beginning where we heard about how a number of different types of groups are deploying social, Ruchi's going to actually take you guys through kind of the back end of how to deploy paid social. So Ruchi, without further ado, I'm going to go off camera and let you be the star of this session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that introduction, Lauren. Hey, everyone. My name is Ruchi Patel. Before we go into the meat of the presentation today, I did want to share some context on how I got into social. So just a heads up, I come from a pure search background. When I started at Cardinal, I was mainly, like my main focus was to work in Google Ads and Bing, upper funnel, mid funnel, down the funnel, all of that. 3 months into the role, just working with a bunch of healthcare clients, all on a very varied scale. The one thing that I realized was that everybody is in a very different stage of their marketing offering. Some of my clients were at a stage where they were backed by a PE firm and they were having to grow very quickly, right? They're acquiring a bunch of clinics every month. They want new patients, and they were tapping out in search. At the same time, I was also working with some of my other clients who were more smaller group of dental clinics, I would say, privately owned, limited marketing budgets. Search was a little too expensive for them. They were facing a lot of competition. So they were at a point where, hey, Ruchi, what is the next best place we can invest in? Some of our clients were actually talking about how the leads that Google Ads was generating was not great, right? Think about somebody searching for therapy. Very few people type in therapy covered by Medicaid. Most of the people are looking for therapy near me, and down the funnel, as they're trying to book an appointment, they kind of confirm what insurance they have. So again, all of this, working with a gamut of clients, the one thing that I realized was search is going to cap out at a certain point for many reasons, both related to investment and not related to investment. And we will have to tap into other channels with more enhanced targeting to reach out to the right audience. And that was how I segued into social. The other thing that kind of came along with this was working with clients who also wanted social to be able to generate leads. Ideally, again, I think there is especially somebody who also was introduced to social a few years back. Even in my head, the idea was, okay, social can be used only to drive awareness or maybe help with brand lift. But when we talk about lead generation, we may or may not have a good strategy around it. I think it is an evolving platform. The technologies that Meta has come up with has been pretty amazing. And I would love to share the things that I have experienced in my journey of learning Meta and helping my clients grow using the channel. Talking about leads, right? The biggest problem for anybody, anybody in the audience who has been running ads on Meta is we are getting the volume. Your clicks are so much cheaper than they are in search. We have an unlimited audience size. We can scale up as easily as we want to. However, the leads are not quality in nature. So we are getting 100 leads, out of which 80 of them cannot even be reached and only 20 of them are actually qualified. Is this actually the right platform? Is this where I want to be? Is this too taxing for my call center who's trying to get to the right leads as early as we can? So these are some of the problems that we've also faced on the Cardinal side, and I would love to share how we overcome them. So the first one being, which is probably the most common one that you guys have heard as well, a percentage of my leads are not converting to bookings. And that is common with Google Ads as well, right? We always have a conversion rate. You get 1,000 clicks, out of which 57 become a booking. And then we look at, okay, what could be the reasons why they are not turning to booking? That becomes absolutely essential in Meta as well, especially because here the percentage of leads that are converting bookings is expected to be traditionally higher than search. For search, people are actually looking for a dentist near me, for a therapist near me. With Meta, we are actually putting ourselves out there, right? Reminding them that they actually need to make a dentist appointment, or if they need therapy help, we are here. If you have a CRM that actually classifies your leads and talks about saves the reasons why the leads are not converting, or if you're using a sophisticated, like call tracking software that helps you identify the reasons, that is exactly where you start with Meta. Of the 100 form submissions that I got, why did 75 of them not become a booking, right? Are most of them dead leads? are these leads that we did not connect to in the next 1 hour of receiving them? Is that why we lost the leads, or was there genuinely a quality problem? If one of the reasons that your leads are not becoming bookings is treatment not offered, is our creative, is our ad copy, and is our landing page not clearly explaining what we are offering? Is there some misalignment between what we are offering and what our creatives are saying, which is misguiding the users? That's another question to ask, right? And then the third one, which is the most common one for me, given I have been working with a lot of behavioral health clients, is the need for a diagnosis. Quite a bit of our clients come from a space where their offerings are restricted to people who have a diagnosis. If you do not have a diagnosis, unfortunately, we cannot really help you in the process, and we have to direct you to some another place. And given this was one of the biggest reasons why quite a bit of our leads were getting disqualified, we started testing out conditional forms in Meta to a huge extent. Is insurance the reason that most of our leads are being disqualified? Is it because we do not have a diagnosis? Meta provides you with conditional forms where you can actually ask the right questions to the people, to your users, and you can direct them to a particular experience based on the response. So, for example, if I'm an ABA service client and I do not accept users without an autism diagnosis, if somebody selects that they do not have an autism diagnosis, we can very gently nudge them towards the page that says, "Thank you for your interest. However, for us to help you out, we do need you to have a diagnosis." And we can send them to a website that shows that, like has a list of all the resources and all the right providers they can go to get a diagnosis for their child or for themselves. So again, the idea is we want to help everybody out, but we want to make sure that we are submitting only the leads that have the right diagnosis, that we are able to handle that disqualifier question even before the form is submitted, and just make sure that the right information is being passed on to the call center. The similar thing happens for insurances as well, right? All of us are in the healthcare space, and one of the biggest disqualifiers is also Medicare, Medicaid. The other thing is reimbursement rates vary by insurance, right? BCBS might be providing us more advantages as compared to another insurance type. And for multiple business reasons, we might have to tap into a particular kind of insurance. This is where third-party audiences come into the picture. They can be super, super helpful. And we can also use conditional forms. If somebody is selecting Medicare or Medicaid or health insurance, we gently nudge them to a page that talks about, "Hey, thank you for your interest. At this point, we are not accepting this particular insurance plan. However, we do have payment plans. Please visit our website to explore more of it." Again, the idea being we want to help everybody out, but we want to prioritize the leads that we think are going to become bookings and make sure that we are getting the call center those leads first. This is also very important for optimizations. We are working with Meta, and we try our best to avoid the use of the Meta pixel just because of HIPAA and everything around it. We want to make sure we are passing the right signals to our Facebook algorithm. Just make sure that it has the right levers, it has the right signals to bring at the end of the day. Sorry about that. Just make sure that we have the right signals to pass into Facebook so that our algorithm can learn and bring us the right number of users there. One of the next, and this is just what the workflow would look like, right? We have a target audience. We are targeting them using Instagram and Facebook. We are asking them a disqualifier question. If the answer to the question is yes, I do have the right insurance or the right diagnosis, the lead is submitted and it goes directly to the client email or the CRM. If they do not accept the insurance or it is a disqualifying answer, we gently nudge them to the website. One of the next things that we have been working with is, one of the next issues that we have been working with is our offering is very niche. How do we target the right audience, right? Some of the services that our clients offer are super generic in nature. Dental cleaning is something that I would call generic. An allergy appointment, an ENT appointment, just because you have some symptoms and you're looking for immediate help would also count as generic. And we have a lot of good geographic and demographic targeting available in Meta that we can tap into to target the right audience. However, Some of our specialized dental services, think about dental implants and dentures, think about behavioral health services like rehab for eating disorder, rehab for alcohol addiction. These are super specialized in nature, and sometimes doing a very generic 15-mile radius around my clinic or particular zip codes is not the best way to go about it. This is when we need to start thinking outside the box, right? Meta does not have these audiences for me. Is there a way for me to leverage third-party audiences? One of them could be using contextual targeting, right? I run a video awareness campaign in programmatic, which is targeting people who are in market for dentures and dental implants. Anybody who engages with my awareness campaign in any capacity, we pass them into Meta and then we remarket them. Again, it does not use the HIPAA pixel. This would be, sorry, it would not be using the Meta pixel. This would be HIPAA compliant. And again, we are targeting people who are in my geographic region and are actually reading content about dentures, dental implants, basically showing that they are interested in the service. So that is one way to go, right? We are going cross-channel. We are leveraging a programmatic platform to find the right audience, and then we are passing them into Meta. The other way to go around this would be using a third-party audience provider. Think about any audience provider who can provide us deterministic data. Somebody dealing with eating disorder would probably be prescribed a particular kind of medication in the early stages of treatment. If we are trying to target somebody, or if we are trying to find the users who would be looking for a rehab for eating disorder, this is the audience, right? And some of our vendors like Purple Labs, they provide claim-based audiences. These are all audiences based on patient claim data. So if you visited the doctor in the last 6 months, there would be a claim generated, which would have a bunch of information, all of which can be encrypted and then passed into Meta, and then they can be targeted, based on what you're looking for. So again, the idea being there are a bunch of ways to pass these audiences into Meta and then target the right audience for a very niche offering. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is sometimes we do have the right targeting, right? Like we are leveraging a third-party audience, we have the right geos, we've identified the exact interest-based profile of the patients who end up at a clinic, and we still do not get the right leads, right? One of the things that I have experienced is when our creatives and our ad messaging is not aligned with what our business is offering, we cannot communicate correctly with the user. So it is absolutely important to understand what are we driving leads for, right? Let's take an example of an outpatient rehab for eating disorder. We are trying to drive leads for users who are dealing with eating disorder. Medications are probably not working and they need more help, right? This is a very specialized kind of audience we are trying to tap into. But are these the people we are interacting with? That's the bigger question, right? Who exactly is making the decision for them? Who is the person who is seeking help for this particular user? In our experience working with one of our eating disorder clients, we realized it's usually females in a maternal role looking for help for a loved family member. Again, this is a person who has been browsing through different options. There's probably been a trigger at home. They now realize that medication alone is not going to be enough. My loved one is in crisis, and I have to go ahead and make sure I get them the right help. This is the audience we are talking to, and all our ad copy, all our creators have to be geared towards this. And that is why it's super important that before we start any social strategy, we understand who is the primary decision maker for the services that we are offering. And again, testing, right? We have to make sure that we know what kind of language works. Is it emotional connection? Is it heavy on value propositions? If I tell them that, hey, we've been in the space for 20 years, we know what we are doing, we've been able to drive an 85% success rate with our existing patients, is this that they care about? Or am I talking to somebody who is in crisis, who really wants to be reassured that we can help your child lead a better life? So again, just understanding where who we are talking to on Meta and then targeting them. It's a combination of both of these that are very crucial for any Meta campaign to become successful. And one more thing that I wanted to touch on is we tried Meta instant forms, we tried traffic campaigns. It worked for another dental practice. It did not work for me. What next year, right? The one thing that has really helped us in our evolving our Meta strategy and offering is continuous testing. You can have 3 different DSOs and the same strategy will not move. Like, even they could be comparable size, they could literally be a part of the same brand umbrella, but a traffic campaign for clinic A might not drive the same results as a traffic campaign for clinic B. It's always a test and try approach. When we start testing it, we kind of we start with the base, right? Like, I know that traffic campaigns have worked well in the past. We know that conditional forms have worked well in the past. We launch it with the best approach that we know, and then it is all about continuous testing, right? Is my geographic targeting too wide? New York and Atlanta cannot be compared in terms of population density. Atlanta can allow for a wider targeting, but with New York, we are probably trying to be really close to the clinic as possible. How are my audiences? Are these good enough? Are these too narrow? Am I meeting this third-party audience very close to the conversion funnel where they're already committed to somebody else? Are my ads performing better when I drive them directly to the website where they have an online scheduler? Or do we think getting them to call us directly will actually reduce the friction and help in improving conversion rates? So there are a bunch of questions that nobody except you will be able to answer, and we will not know until we test it. So that's the one thing. Always start with the best practices, whatever we've learned online by talking to peers in our industry, by trying it on different clients. But at the end of the day, we will only know what is working once we get to that, once we try it out for our own brand. And like I mentioned, a bunch of testing opportunities with Meta, right? Ad schedules. Are we getting form submissions at 7 p.m. and we are reaching back to these forms after 12 to 13 hours? Is that the problem? Should we be actually testing out a campaign which runs from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. when we have an ad schedule? And, if people are calling, they're immediately being answered. Is that helping with the quality of my leads or no? Campaign type. Do traffic campaigns work better than lead campaigns? Do lead campaigns work better than form campaigns? Should we be trying instant experience? So just a bunch of different campaigns out there. Geo-targeting. Are we using the right patient claim data? Are we targeting the right demographics? Are we targeting the right zip codes? Is my targeting too broad? Is it not? And then again, creatives, right? What kind of asset will work best? Traditionally, we try a video for awareness and we try statics for bottom of funnel, but is there scope to use a very direct bottom of funnel approach, creatives for our bottom of funnel campaigns as well? So again, many different opportunities in Meta to test and learn from, and just so much that we won't know until we test. The one, I know we might be a little near our time, but the one last thing that I wanted to absolutely touch on is we as marketing managers and even people who are working on the business side, we are all in the mindset that search is the first place where my dollar needs to go. If I have $1,000 to invest in digital, I'm going to try and capture people who are searching for the services directly. While that has been the case for 95% of my clients, we've actually come across a few instances where search is not the first place where you should be investing your dollar. Let me give you a very simple example. Think about a very specialized plastic surgery. Let's talk about microtia or craniosystenosis. Again, a surgery that you probably would never have heard the name about unless you were told by a doctor that, hey, XYZ, your child, your partner, somebody, your loved one is dealing with a particular condition and he or she might need surgery, right? If we are trying to advertise and get leads for a very specialized service, sometimes what we realize is people are searching for that service online only to learn about it. This is an experience that we've had firsthand. Users are typing in the right search terms. We are driving them to a page that is informative and also asks them to fill out a lead form, to call the business, to get in touch, to schedule a consult. However, despite all the right despite all the right traffic, we are seeing users bounce off the page after spending a good amount of time on the website. And the reason being, these are people who are just here trying to research because this is such an unfamiliar field to play in, just to get an understanding of what exactly am I or my loved one dealing with, but they are probably already talking to a provider or not yet at a stage where they want to make a decision right now. In situations like this, it again comes down to targeting, right? This is especially one of those situations where we would focus on understanding where these patients are coming from. Are these moms on a Facebook group who are actually recommending providers to each other once they realize that, oh, my friend's child is in a particular situation? I have worked with this particular doctor who's been really kind and has been amazing at his or her job, and I recommend you to go there. Or are these people who've just been served a diagnosis, they know they have a problem at hand and they will be looking for help in a very short term, maybe in the next 2 weeks? And does this become a case where we are using third-party audiences to tap into this particular audience group? All of this said, the idea being, for some businesses, for some particular type of services, search may not be the first place to invest your dollar. Sometimes we might be looking at a very, very nuanced targeting that programmatic or Meta can provide, and search can probably becomes the second platform that we expand into. So I did want to share this. I know it's not the most common example out there, but this was one of the biggest learnings we had in 24. So wanted to make sure I shared this with the crew here. That is all I had for today. I know we have 7 minutes left. Any questions that I can help answer here? I can see a few questions in the chat, so I think I can go ahead and answer some of those. Any particular tests or indicators that we are casting to wider geographic net? Yes. So again, it becomes super important to be able to see why your leads are being disqualified. One of the things, and again, we were working with one of our clients who did not have a CRM to tell them if the leads are being why the leads were being disqualified. However, when we talked to the team who is actually answering the calls, they said that to get a diagnosis, everybody had to travel 27 minutes, which seemed like a very long time frame. And that is why they were trying to look at providers who were able to provide services early, closer to the home. So again, we are talking about New York, which is a very closed up city where people have a lot of options. So it became that is when we realized that, okay, the geographic net is too wide and we want to make sure that we are targeting users within a 5 mile or a 4 mile radius. So again, dissecting the reasons of why leads are not becoming bookings helps us understand if we are casting too wide of a geographic net here. How is this done HIPAA compliant through Meta with the data? Would love to learn more. So we are some of the vendors that we are, again, as long as we are not using the Meta pixel for any of our marketing initiatives, we are HIPAA compliant. Again, I'm not the expert here, so I would absolutely let a few of our other team members chime in after the session. But basically, even with a third-party audiences right now, the Meta does not know what audience this is. We mask the name of the audience, and we not use any kind of pixel to remarket them. It would be a video remarketing a video campaign, and we would only remarket to users who were engaged in the platform. So it's a way of remarketing that does not involve the Meta pixel, and that is how it is HIPAA compliant. Again, with the changing laws around HIPAA, the stand around using the Meta pixel in marketing efforts on the platform is shifting to a huge extent, but it always ends up to be a business legal question on whether we still want to continue using the pixel or not. So again, not a very clear answer around the HIPAA compliance, but it depends on the strategy and how we are leveraging the pixel there. Any tips for continuous testing when we are on a budget? Yes, I would. I think one of the things that I would absolutely focus on is testing out one thing at a time. If we are on a limited budget, you do not want to spread yourselves too thin. If we do not have enough information, if we do not have any information to, if we do not have enough impressions and clicks and leads to draw a conclusion, we will never know what is working, what is not. We usually recommend to run a test for at least 8 weeks. Focus, if you have a small budget, focus all your spend on that to make a decision. Otherwise, you will never be able to understand what tactic is working and whether you need to continue investing it or not. I think I may have answered all the questions I can see in the chat. Thank you so much, guys. I hope this was helpful, and I hope I was able to answer some of your questions here. Thank you.